All right, example 1, we are going to go from scientific to standard. So let's write out a scientific example. 8.23 times 10 to the power of negative 3. So again, let's really dissect these different pieces. Our coefficient, we need it between 1 and 10, otherwise it would not be in scientific notation. So I know it's in scientific notation, and my coefficient is a negative 3. I'm going to move my decimal 3 places, but it's just a matter of which way am I going to move it. And so if I'm going to move it 3 spaces and I move it 3 to the left, that's going to give me 8,000, or I'm sorry, 8 to the right would be 8,230. But if I move it to the left, I'm going to get a decimal. So because it's a negative exponent, I want the smaller number, and a smaller number is when I move it to the left. So let me practice that down here. I'm just going to show a little bit of thinking or a little bit of work. I'm going to move it 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, which is where my new decimal goes. I'm going to put some zeros in the spaces that I've added. And then what I'd like you to do every single time is actually rewrite all of this out, make it look really nice. So 0.00823, I would like a 0 out in front. That's more mathematically correct. And that would be your final answer. Let's do another example together. Example 2. We're going to go from standard to scientific in this case. So standard would be 0.0036. I want to change that into scientific notation. The current decimal is right there, and we need to decide where do we want it. If we put it here, that coefficient or this number that's out in front here would be 0.36, and that's not between 1 and 10. If I put it over here, the coefficient would be 36. That's not between 1 and 10. So I have decided that it needs to go between the 6 and the 3, because that way it is between 1 and 2, or I'm sorry, 1 and 10. So if I move it over 3 spaces, I get 3.6 times 10 to the power of 3. That is wrong. Why? Give yourself a second to think about that. We moved it 3 spaces. I put a 3 there, but because this number is less than 1, it's a negative. It's a smaller number. It's a decimal. So that way you go from standard to scientific. Let's try one more example. And again, I'm asking you to write these out so that you can refer back to them and use them when you're working on some problems on Schoology today. This is in scientific form. We want to put it in standard form. Firstly, the decimal is currently here, and I need to move my decimal 2 places. Now, because it's a positive 2, I want my number to be bigger than it would be for a negative 2. So I'm going to move it 2 spaces. I can either move it to the left or I can move it to the right. And I know that because I want a bigger number than a smaller number, if I move it to the left, I get to the right, I get 926. Whereas if I move it to the left, I get 0.0926, and that's not great. That's smaller, and I want the bigger number of the 2 possible answers. So 9.26, move it over twice, and my new number is 926.